and welcome to Mandobug Crafts, episode 80. What's up everybody? I'm Amanda, but you may know me on the internet as Mandobug. This is my crafty video blog channel here on YouTube, where I mostly just talk about the things that I am making. I'm coming to you from Washington State, and I want to start the show out with something I've learned. So this week it's interesting. So I kind of made a name for what I've learned because I'm not really sure what else to call it. I've been calling it blind crochet. So let me show you what I made first. This cute little bird. Oh my goodness. How cute is this little guy? He's the cutest. So this bird was made using a fun fur yarn that I got called Caribou by Haiku. This is going to be bird number 2. And so it's one strand of Caribou and one strand of, I used Haiku Simplicity, which is a DK weight yarn. So you crochet them holding them double to make this cute fuzzy, and like he looks nice and squishy from afar, but he's dense. He's a nice dense, perfect for flying, which actually, he was designed to be one of the baby birds from Angry Birds. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but that's what the designer was going for, and I think she nailed it, and he is like the perfect size and denseness to go flying. So anyways, when you crochet with yarn like this, you can't see your stitches. You can't see any stitch definition whatsoever, and so that's what's led me to calling this blind crochet, because as I was crocheting it, I literally felt blind to the stitches. So the only way to work around that is to feel. I mean, let's get real, that's the only way. Feel and count. So to make this guy, I relied on my experience as a crocheter and my fingers to tell me what I was feeling. So I would feel kind of where the holes were and what yarn was coming out of what holes, and I would feel around for, because there is still that DK weight or sport weight yarn that's, no, it is DK, sorry, that DK weight yarn that's giving you structure. You can feel for the definition in these stitches to know where to go. And I just kept a beginning of the round marker at the beginning of each round. And so at the beginning, if there was a row that was something along the lines like one single crochet increase around, so then I would feel and do 1 in the hole, feel for the next hole, do 2 in that hole, and then if I knew the stitch count for the round, I would make sure I counted my stitches before I got back to my marker as I went, because you're not going to be able to necessarily feel them back around, but if you count as you go, you'll know if your stitch count is matching up with what the pattern says it's supposed to be. So it's kind of a combination of feeling and counting to get your little guy. And luckily, because the fun fur yarn is so fuzzy, you can't really tell if you mess up. I did mess up. There was a row or two where I lost a few stitches when I was supposed to be just working rounds evenly, and the middle of his body started to go in, and I noticed that when I counted, because I stopped counting for a few rows. I got overconfident, and then I counted again, and I think I was like 2 stitches off, and so the next row I just increased by 2 and just continued on, because the fun fur is not easy to rip out. It was, I tried a couple of stitches and it didn't work, so I just went forward, and I don't feel like you can tell. I do think it affected his body shape just a little bit, but he's still, for the most part, the egg oval shape that he's supposed to be. When I sewed the arms on, I felt like I sewed them on not evenly, so I don't know. If you get nitpicky, I think I could have sewed his arms on a little bit better. But it's all fuzzy, it's all cute, there's room for error in this pattern. It is a free pattern hosted on a blog. I'm not sure that it's available on Ravelry. Like, I don't know if someone's made a project page for it. If not, I may create one. You know how you can create one and say, hey, this isn't mine, but I followed this and you can get it here, and later someone can claim it. I may do that if I want to link it on my project page. I'm not sure yet. but it's just super cute. So there's the body, the two arms. You use felt to make the white parts of the eyes. These eyes I ordered off of 60 Eyes on Etsy, and the beak is felt. She has you felt the beak on, but I actually, if we look up really close, I sewed it on just to be safe because this is going to be for my kids. And then you make 4 feet and sew those on as well. Well, 4 pieces to the feet, but they're sewn to make 2 feet. So what a fun little pattern. It only took me 2 evenings to make. I haven't given it to my kids yet because you can't, with 2 kids, you can't just give them one toy. You have to give them both at the same time. I did show them the caribou colors online and they don't know what it's for, but Emily picked this turquoise and Jack picked this, I don't know, highlighter yellow. It's kind of got a hint of green to it, but it's mostly highlighter yellow. So I'm going to be making that soon, and I got a multi-pack of eyes from 60. Well, a multi-pack of color and a multi-pack of clear because you can paint the clear ones, but I think I'm going to stick to the multi-pack of color. And well, now that I'm recording, I can't find the color I was looking at. I think, well, you can't see it through the bag very well anyways, but there's like a yellowish golden color eye that I think I'm going to use for the yellow bird because I really like the way the similar color eyes look with the body. So that is something I've learned, plus a finished object. I do have 2 other finished objects, one with me, one without. So I can talk about the ones that aren't with me real quick. I just have pictures. I left them up at Lori's house. I made a couple lavender sachets. So if you guys remember, I dried all of the lavender from my front yard and I've been keeping it in this giant jar, and I wanted to make some sachets. I had heard that they were really good for repelling wool moths. Not that I have an issue with them, but it's better safe than sorry. And had seen some really cute ones on Pinterest, I believe, where there was a crocheted doily on top of just like a linen square with a little handle if you wanted to hang it. So I don't have any of them with me, like I said, but I do have some of the scrap linen that I cut out. I just cut out little 4x4 squares, and with some of the scraps I did a, what do you call that, a 2-folded bias, when you make like a bias tape that's a double fold. I did that with my scraps and then sewed them shut on the one end to kind of just make a strap, and then I looped them in where I wanted them. The crochet motif that I used is the large motif from my Ripple As You Go pattern, which is a free pattern. The original pattern was written for a DK weight yarn, so it makes quite a large motif, but I went ahead and crocheted it with it's a cotton yarn that I had gotten from someone. It's like the crocheted thread, but it's not a finer thread. It was more like a fingering weight, the purple was. But I did make one that is white that I used actual crochet thread with. That one was a little bit more difficult to sew because it wasn't as large, so it wasn't as easy to catch the motifs as I was sewing it all together. I had to be very careful that I did at least catch some of the motif, because I was trying to cut down the handwork, right? I didn't want to have to hand sew the motif down and then sew the sachet. I wanted to be able to catch the motif as I sewed the sachet so that I had less hand sewing to do. I mean, I did hand sew the bottom shut, so there's an invisible seam there, but I didn't want to have to also sew the motifs. So I do want to make more of those, but I do think that I want to experiment with some different colors and some different threads. I want to keep it not wool. I want to keep it cotton or something that's machine washable, because I've also read that you can wash your clothes with lavender sachets and it makes a really nice smell to your clothes. I did use 4 teaspoons of this dried lavender, which is super potent. This stuff is so potent. I'm trying to keep the sachets in Ziploc bags until I'm ready to use them, but even just the Ziploc bag is not enough to contain the scent of these things. So that's something that I had finished this week. And then I also finished a cowl, and this cowl is so special to me, this one right here. So it's a pretty good sized cowl, and it is a thicker, bulkier yarn that I typically work with. I had originally intended to double it up, so I thought I had made a long enough circumference to do that, but I didn't. This is just one that is long, but it's so wide, I just kind of fold it over like this, and it's nice and warm, and I could like fold it and pin it up if I did want more around my neck, but it's just not really one you want to double up. It's just too short. But the yarn, so the yarn, let me show you up close because it's special, and technically that's upside down. The white yarn is that hand spun that I showed you guys last week. That is the hand spun from Lori, my mother-in-law, and it was wool from her sheep, some that she processed, some that I processed. I dyed some of it even, and some Angelina as well. And then the orange, so when I put that, after last week's episode, when I put that handspun up on my handspun shelf, which is this one, that's all my handspun up there. When I put it down, it just paired with this pumpkin orange so well. So Lori normally does a 2-ply spin because of the way that her bobbins, she's got just 3 bobbins. So it's easier for her to do 2 plies and or chain plies. But chain plying is newer-ish to her. So I'm very surprised that this yarn turned out to be a chain plied 3-ply because she doesn't typically do 3 plies. And I typically do 3 plies, and this pumpkin I had done a traditional 3-ply, and it's the same weight. Like, not only did it look amazing next to each other, it's the same weight. So I just was instantly inspired to wind it up and cast something on. I didn't know what, and so I was kind of brainstorming like, well, I think that it would be really cute in chevrons. So I had attempted to do chevrons, but as you can tell, they're not super clear chevrons. This is my own design. It's crochet. I crocheted it using a 9mm crochet hook, and it's not in its final form yet. So I do think that I want to keep the circumference the same, but I want to change the stitch pattern. So the way that I crocheted this was doing color work. I carried the yarn, let's get back up close again. I carried the yarn through my work. So right here I would work the orange puff stitch. It's a V puff stitch. And then right here I would work my creamish puff stitch over the top of the orange. And you would have to carry over 3 stitches before you use that orange again. And I believe that's what is making the stitch pattern not as defined as I was hoping it would be. So I'm going to tweak that. I have an idea. So instead of it having to be color work, I'm going to see if I can do the V puff stitch in increases and decreases to get your more traditional chevron look than having to do color work. The color work wasn't bad, it's just I can't hide the strands. Even if I was going to, so this is the inside, even if I was going to have floats, which you can do with crochet like you do knit, the floats are 3 stitches long, and these are big stitches, and I just don't think it's gonna, I don't think it's gonna hide as well. So I'm calling this prototype 1, and I will be playing with the same original design in mind, but a different technique. I'm still wanting to stay with the V puff stitch because it's not a dense crochet stitch, and I really like the stitch look that you get with it. It's not something that you see a lot in crochet. So, or at least it's not something I see a lot. So I'm going to change that, and then I'm also going to change on this is the bottom where I started. I did my foundation chain with the cream color, and after I ran out of cream, I used all of the cream yarn, and I have a little bit left over of the pumpkin. That's when I decided to put the pumpkin border on it, and I realized that I should have done the foundation chain in pumpkin instead of in cream. So I will change that whenever I get to prototype 2. I do plan on releasing whatever the final version of this pattern is as a free pattern, and I'm probably going to make a video tutorial for it as well. So that's all my finished objects. Moving on to works in progress. I've spent a lot of time this week working on my socks for the speckle that I'm participating in. I'm like, yes, I grabbed the right bag. The sock speckle that is hosted by Crafty Garden and So Perfect Pearls. And like I said, I've spent a lot of time on it this week and I've made pretty good progress. So I did put the heels in, and I was telling you guys I wasn't sure if I was going to add one extra round to one sock or if I was going to continue on. I did just go ahead right after the podcast and boom, start the heels like I thought I was going to. And after I put the heels in, got a couple rows on my leg, I'm not disappointed. You can barely tell that one is longer than the other one because I do like my socks to have a negative ease in the foot, which I know a lot of people don't like. They find it uncomfortable on their toes, but I'm weird about my socks. I would rather have my socks be too tight than too loose. So one of my socks is slightly tighter than the other, but it stretches out and it's no problem. So I'm super happy with it, and I mean, we're still matching up pretty well. So as I'm knitting now, this sock's on a green stripe. This one has started to move into a turquoisey blue, but this one's not far behind. This one's probably got another row of green before it gets into the turquoise blue. And for hand spun socks, I'm just thrilled that they match as well as they do. And I can't wait to see how they're going to turn out. I have a decent amount of yarn left. I think I'm just gonna knit until I'm out of rainbow yarn and go ahead and do a couple rows of the cuff in black. I don't have a ton of black. I just have a little bit. So I have two of those. So they're not gonna be super big cuffs, but I think what I get will be just fine. But yeah, so that, I don't know if you guys remember, but that fiber was from Rock and String Creations. I don't think she names her colorways. It was just one of her very saturated neon rainbow braids of fiber. This one didn't have any white space in it. I've spun a similar one that had white space. I loved them both equally. I think when I purchased them originally, I intended to use them in the same project, but then that didn't happen. The other work in progress I've been working on are some socks. It's been a while since I've worked on these other socks, so I'll pull them out. These are the Birch Cable socks from the Interweave Crochet magazine, and I haven't done anything that you really haven't already seen. Last time I showed these, I had one sock up to this point, and I had just started the ribbed cuff of the other. So now I've got them at a matching point in the pattern is all. And it's just a lovely pattern. I've got all these stitch markers hanging off. So with crochet, you want a locking stitch marker in your working loop to keep that from coming undone. Then you also want a stitch marker for the beginning of your round. But then I had the same color stitch markers and I couldn't tell which was sock 1 and 2. So then I attached another stitch marker to the beginning of the round on my second sock to indicate 2 stitch markers. That's sock number 2. So that's all I've done on these. It was nice to kind of pick it up again. I don't know why I put it down and didn't come back to it. This yarn is Kobasi by Haiku. It's a really nice cotton bamboo silk blend, and I'm really excited to have another pair of wool-free socks because sometimes you just want a wool-free sock, and it's nice to have that option when you get ready to wear your socks, because I have been wearing a ton of my socks lately now that it's cooling off, and I'm dreading sock washing time because I got some really dirty socks. But these can go right in the washing machine, which is amazing. So, you know, I should probably check the label on that, but I'm pretty sure they can go in the machine. Yeah, machine wash cold, dry flat. So that's all for my works in progress. I haven't touched my speckle and pop mystery knit along at all this week. I think it has something to do with my frustration of not being able to keep up. Sometimes when I get frustrated with a project, I don't enjoy it as much and I just kind of let it sit in timeout for a little while. I have very much been enjoying my other projects, so I just have been kind of focusing on that. Moving on to check it out, you guys. I got a crochet book. This book is so awesome. So this is a Garden of Shawls by Karen Hooley. So one of the benefits of working at a local yarn store is that you get to meet local designers when they come and do trunk shows when they release books. And so I got to meet Karen and I got to get the book signed. And I got to see all of the lovely shawls in her book, and it was just a really fun time, and she's a really awesome person and very, very talented designer. She had this book available as well as a crochet sock book, but the shawl book really spoke to me. A lot of the shawls in this book are lace weight and fingering weight, and they're simple but elegant and almost seemingly easy to memorize. I haven't worked any of the shawls yet, but they look like ones that once you get the foundation of the pattern, super simple to just keep going. I'll show you my two favorites out of the book. Okay, this one. Sorry, I wanted to cover the pattern there. But this one is just absolutely a lovely shawl. It's called Solar, I believe. Let me double check that. Solar? Yes, I mean, she said it was one of the most popular shawls in the book as well, and I can totally see why. It's just stunning, and she used a mini skein set to make it, and I just think it's the perfect use of a mini skein set. Or it would be great for a scrappy project as well, or a fade. I think there's a lot of really fun things that could be done with that shawl. The shawl that was my favorite personally, and this one doesn't have a pattern next to it so I can show you. To me, the pictures in the book didn't really call out to me as much as the sample in person really spoke to me. It's this shawl right here. And like I said, you can kind of see how it seems like a pretty mindless piece until you get to the border, which the border was actually my favorite part. And it's called Enchantment, and let me cover up the pattern. But here's another picture of the shawl again. But the sample was made out of a lovely fingering weight yak yarn, and it was a gorgeous sample, and I really, really fell in love with it, to the point that I think when I do make this, I either want to make it in the same deep maroon color, or I think it might be fun to stripe the sections between these rows that kind of look like eyelets, because I love me some stripes. But if you crochet shawls, check out the Garden of Shawls book by Karen Hooley. I think that you won't be disappointed. It's got written and charted instructions, and every one of the shawls in here is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, check it out. So real quick, I wanted to talk about something that came in the mail. I haven't started it yet, but I'm super excited. I have been telling you how I am making things for one of my very best friends who is expecting her first child coming up in January, and I'm going to be making her diaper bag. And we went on Pinterest, the internet in general, searching for a diaper bag pattern, and we found the perfect pattern. I ordered the PDF version as well as the hard copy version because I currently don't have a printer at the moment. Jack broke my printer last year. He Hulk ripped off the electronic face to it, and it's just not possible to fix. So until I can get another printer, I've been ordering full copies of the pattern, which in this case was only a couple dollars more. And so I have the Swoon Belle baby bag, and I'm so excited for this pattern. So excited. It comes with, like, the straps I thought were leather. Nope, you make those yourself with the fabric that you've chosen. It does call for pre-made piping, but I know how to make piping, and I'm going to use the coordinating fabric we purchased to make piping as well. It comes with swivel hook to attach things to the bag, and 2 swivel hooks that you can use as straps on your stroller to attach the bag to your stroller. And if I'm not mistaken, it also comes with a pattern for a, what do you call that, portable changing pad, which I used all the time with my kids. So I'm so excited to start this. And it came with this cute little metal hardware piece that says Swoon, but I'm probably going to make a second one of these bags for myself, and instead of it being a diaper bag, I'm probably going to make it like a craft project bag, because it's got all these nice little pockets and sections, and it's a big bag and really sturdy. I mean, and it's expensive for the materials. I'm just going to go ahead and be super honest about that. There is a lot of interfacing in this, which really builds up the bulk, and that got spendy quick. I think I almost spent as much on interfacing as I did for the fabric to create the create the bag. I have the interfacing, but the fabric we ordered online and it hasn't come in yet, so be on the lookout for the bag. Oh, and I also cut out the lining for the onesie I'm making her. So I have now not just the moose pieces cut out, but also the lining's been cut out with them, and I just kind of pinned a number to each piece so I could keep track of what piece was what, and so I just need to get down to sewing. Moving on to Let's Chat, I did want to mention that if you were curious, I've mentioned before I work at my local yarn store, which is Maker's Mercantile in Kent, Washington, and the Knit Show actually did a little segment on our LYS. I believe it's on episode 108, and they just go to the shop, kind of show what it looks like around, and they interview our owner, Corin. And so if you were interested in that, definitely check it out. I love my LYS, and if you guys are ever in the area, it's a really great shop to stop at. So I did want to mention that because it's something that I think you guys might be interested in. And then other than that, this past week it was me and my husband's anniversary. We hit 6 years of marriage, and it was a lot of fun. We went out to a sushi buffet restaurant, which I had a little bit of a sticker shock because it's been a while since we've gone out to a restaurant together. It was expensive, but it was really good, and it was really nice to have time away from the kids and just kind of some time to ourselves. We don't get that a lot. And then, you know, I don't have anything else on here for my notes, so I think that is it, you guys. So if you made it this far, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for chatting. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new and you like this video, please also subscribe so you get notifications when I put up new videos. You can also follow me on Facebook as well under Mandobug Crafts. I post all my videos on there as well. So, alright guys, until next time, happy crafting. Bye!